محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إني أسألك برحمتك التي وسعت كل شيء وبقوتك التي قهرت بها كل شيء وخضع لها كل شيء وظل لها كل شيء وبجبروتك التي غلبت بها كل شيء وبعزتك التي لا يقوم لها شيء وبعظمتك التي ملأت كل شيء وبسلطانك الذي على كل شيء وبوجهك الباقي بعد فناء كل شيء وبأسمائك التي ملأت أركان كل شيء وبعلمك الذي أحاط بكل شيء وبنور وجهك الذي أضاء له كل شيء. يا نور يا قدوس، يا نور يا قدوس، يا نور يا قدوس، يا أول الأولين ويا آخر الآخرين. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تحت كل عصم. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل النقم. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تغير النعم. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تحبس الدعاء. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تقطع الرجاء. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل البلاء. اللهم اغفر لي كل ذنب أذنبته وكل خطيئة أخطأتها. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك بذكرك واستشفع بك إلى نفسك وأسألك بجودك أن تدنيني من قربك وأن تلزمني شكرك وأن تلهمني ذكرك. اللهم إني أسألك سؤال خاضع متضلل خاشع أن تسامحني وترحمني وتجعلني بقسمك راضيا قانعا وفي جميل الأحوال متواضعا. اللهم واسألك سؤال من اشتدت فاقته والزمن بك عند الشدائد حاجته وعظم فيما عندك رغبته. اللهم عظم سلطانك وعلى مكانك وخفي مكرك وظهر أمرك وغلب قهرك وجرت قدرتك ولا يمكن الفرار من حكومتك. اللهم لا أجد لذنوبي غافرا ولا لقبائحي ساترا ولا لشيء من عملي القبيح بالحسن مبدلا غيرك. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك وبحمدك. ظلمت نفسي وتجرأت بجهلي وسكنت إلى قديم ذكرك لي ومنك علي. اللهم مولاي كم من قبيح سترت وكم من فادح من البلاء أقلت وكم من عثار وقيت وكم من مكروه دفعت وكم من ثناء جميل لست أهلا له نشرت. اللهم عظم بلائي وافرط بي سوء حالي وقصرت بي أعمالي وقعدت بي أغلالي وحبسني عن نفعي بعد آمالي. وخدعني الدنيا بغرورها ونفسي بجنايتها ومطالي. يا سيدي فأسألك بعزتك أن لا يحجب عنك دعائي سوء عملي وفعالي، ولا تفضحني بخفي ما اطلعت عليه من سري، ولا تعاجلني بالعقوبات على ما عملته في خلواتي من سوء فعلي وإساءتي ودوام تفريطي وجهالتي وكثرة الشهوات وغفلتي. وكن اللهم بعزتك لي في كل الأحوال رؤوفا، وعلي في جميل الأمور عطوفا. إلهي وربي من لي غيرك، وأسأله كشف ضري والنظر في أمري. إلهي ومولاي أجريت علي حكم اتبعت فيه هوى نفسي، ولم أحترز فيه من تزيين عدوي، فغرني بما أهوى وأسعده على ذلك القضاء. فتجاوزت بما جرى علي من ذلك بعد حدودك، وخالفت بعد أوامرك، فلك الحجة علي في جميع ذلك، ولا حجة لي فيما جرى علي فيه قضاؤك، والزمني حكمك وبلاؤك. وقد أتيتك يا إلهي بعد تقصيري وإسرافي على نفسي، معتذرا نادما منكسرا مستقيلا مستغفرا منيبا مقرا مذعنا معترفا، لا أجد مفر مما كان مني، ولا مفزعا أتوجه إليه في أمري غير قبولك عذري وادخالك إياه في سعة من رحمتك. اللهم فاقبل عذري وارحم شدة ضري، وفكني من شد وثاقي. يا رب ارحم ضعف بدني، يا رب ارحم ضعف بدني ورقة جلدي ودقة عظمي. يا من بدا خلقي وذكري وتربيتي وبري وتغذيتي، هبني لابتداء كرمك وصالف برك بي. يا إلهي وسيدي وربي، أتراك معذبي بنارك بعد توحيدك، وبعد ما انطوى عليه قلبي من معرفتك، ولهجابه لساني من ذكرك، واعتقده ضميري من حبك، وبعد صدق اعترافي ودعائي خاضع لربوبيتك. هيهات أنت أكرم من أن تضيع من ربيت، أو تبعد من أدنيت، أو تشرد من آويت، أو تسلم إلى البلاء من كفيته ورحمت. وليت شعري يا سيدي وإلهي ومولاي، أتسلط النار على وجوه خرت لعظمتك ساجدا، وعلى ألسن نطقت بتوحيدك صادقا وبشكرك مادحا، وعلى قلوب ترفت بإلهيتك محققا، وعلى ضماري حوت من العلم بك حتى صارت خاشعة، وعلى جوارح سعت إلى أوطان تعبدك طاععة، وشارت باستغفارك مذعنا. ما هكذا الظن بك، ولا أخبرنا بفضلك عنك يا كريم يا رب، وأنت تعلم ضعفي عن قليل من بلاء الدنيا وعقوباتها، وما يجري فيها من المكاره على أهلها، على أن ذلك بلاء ومكروه قليل مكثور، يسير بقاؤه قصير مدته، فكيف احتمالي لبلاء الآخرة وجليل وقوع المكاره فيها، وهو بلاء تطول مدته ويدوم مقامه، ولا يخفف عن أهله، لأنه لا يكون إلا عن غضبك وانتقامك وسخطك، وهذا ما لا تقوم له السماوات والأرض. يا سيدي فكيف بي وأنا عبدك الضعيف الذليل الحقير المسكين المستكين؟ يا إلهي وربي وسيدي ومولاي، لأي الأمور إليك أشكو، ولما منها ضج وأبكي، لأليم العذاب وشدته أم لطول البلاء ومدته؟ فلئن سيرتني للعقوبات مع أعدائك، وجمعت بيني وبين أهل بلائك، وفرقت بيني وبين أحبائك وأوليائك، فهبني يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي وربي، صبرت على عذابك، فكيف أصبر على فراقك؟ وهبني صبرت على حر نارك، فكيف أصبر عن النظر إلى كرامتك؟ أم كيف أسكن في النار ورجائي عفوك؟ فبعزتك يا سيدي ومولاي أقسم صادقا، لئن تركتني ناطقا لأذجن إليك بين أهلها ضجيج الآملين، ولا أصرخن إليك صراخ المستصرخين، ولا أبكين عليك بكاء الفاقدين، ولا أنادينك أين كنت يا ولي المؤمنين، يا غاية آمال العارفين، يا غياث المستغيثين، يا غياث المستغيثين، يا غياث المستغيثين.
يا حبيب قلوب الصادقين ويا إله العالمين، أفتراك سبحانك يا إلهي وبحمدك تسمع فيها صوت عبد مسلم سجن فيها بمخالفته، وذاق طعم عذابها بمعصيته، وحبس بين أطباقها بجرمه وجريرته، وهو يضج إليك ضجيج مؤمل لرحمتك، ويناديك بلسان أهل توحيدك، ويتوسل إليك بربوبيتك. يا مولاي فكيف يبقى في العذاب وهو يرجو ما سلف من حلمك؟ أم كيف تؤلمه النار وهو يأمل فضلك ورحمتك؟ أم كيف يحرقه لهيبها وأنت تسمع صوته وترى مكانه؟ أم كيف يشتمل عليه زفيرها وأنت تعلم ضعفا؟ أم كيف يتقلقل بين أطباقها وأنت تعلم صدقا؟ أم كيف تزجره زبانيتها وهو يناديك يا ربا؟ أم كيف يرجو فضلك في عتقه منها فتتركه فيها؟ هيهات ما ذلك الظن بك، ولا المعروف من فضلك، ولا مشبه لما عاملت به الموحدين من برك وإحسانك. فباليقين أقطع لولا ما حكمت به من تعذيب جاحديك، وقضيت به من إخلاد معانديك لجعلت النار كلها بردا وسلاما، وما كانت لأحد فيها مقرا ولا مقاما، لكنك تقدست أسماؤك أقسمت أن تملأها من الكافرين من الجنة والناس أجمعين، وأن تخلد فيها المعاندين، وأن تجل ثناؤك. قلت مبتدئا وتطولت بالإنعام متكرما، أفمن كان مؤمنا كمن كان فاسقا لا يستوون. إلهي وسيدي فأسألك بالقدرة التي قدرتها وبالقضية التي حتمتها وحكمتها وغلبت من عليه أجريتها، أن تهب لي في هذه الليلة وفي هذه الساعة كل جرم أجرمت وكل ذنب أذنبت وكل قبيح أسررت وكل جهل عملت كتمته أو أعلنت أخفيته أو أظهرت وكل سيئة أمرت بإثباتها الكرام الكاتبين الذين وكلتهم بحفظ ما يكون مني وجعلتهم شهودا علي مع جوارحي، وكنت أنت الرقيب علي من ورائهم والشاهد لما خفي عنهم، وبرحمتك أخفيته وبفضلك سترت، وأن توفر حظي من كل خير تنزل أو إحسان تفضل أو بر تنشر أو رزق تبسط أو ذنب تغفر أو خطأ تستر. يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي ومالك رقي، يا من بيده ناصيتي، يا عليما بضري ومسكنتي، يا خبيرا بفقري وفاقتي، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب. أسألك بحقك وقدسك وعظم صفاتك وأسمائك أن تجعل أوقاتي في الليل والنهار بذكرك معمورا وبخدمتك موصولا، وأعمالي عندك مقبولا، حتى تكون أعمالي وأورادي كلها وردا واحدا، وحالي في خدمتك سرمدا. يا سيدي يا من عليه معولي، يا من إليه شكوت أحوالي، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب. قو على خدمتك جوارحي واشتد على العزيمة جوانحي، وهب لي الجد في خشيتك والدوام في الاتصال بخدمتك حتى أسرح إليك في ميادين السابقين وأسرع إليك في المبادرين وأشتاق إلى قربك في المشتاقين وأدنو منك دنو المخلصين وأخافك مخافة الموقنين وأجتمع في جوارك مع المؤمنين. اللهم ومن أرادني بسوء فأرده ومن كادني فكده واجعلني من أحسن عبيدك نصيبا عندك وأقربهم منزلة منك وأخصهم زلفة لديك فإنه لا ينال ذلك إلا بفضلك. وجد لي بجودك واعطف علي بمجدك واحفظني برحمتك واجعل لساني بذكرك لهجا وقلبي بحبك متيما ومن علي بحسن إجابتك وأقلني عثرتي واغفر زلتي فإنك قضيت على عبادك بعبادتك وأمرتهم بدعائك وضمنت لهم الإجابة. فإليك يا ربي نصبت وجهي وإليك يا ربي مددت يدي فبعزتك استجب لي دعائي وبلغني منايا ولا تقطع من فضلك رجائي واكفني شر الجن والإنس من أعدائي. يا سريع الرضا اغفر لمن لا يملك إلا الدعاء فإنك فعال لما تشاء. يا من اسمه دواء وذكره شفاء وطاعته غنى ارحم من رأس ماله الرجاء وسلاحه البكاء. يا سابغ النعم يا دافع النقم يا نور المستوحشين في الظلم يا عالما لا يعلم صل على محمد وآل محمد وافعل بما أنت أهله. وصلى الله على رسوله والأئمة الميامين من آله وسلم تسليما كثيرا.
Once again, brothers and sisters, please recite Surah Al-Fatiha for Marhum Sayyid Mansoor Shirazi, son of Sayyid Zulfiqar Shirazi, and for all Marhumin from your families and from our community, and the Shuhada Ulama of Islam, for all Marhumin, Surah Al-Fatiha. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد.
يقول درود بيجي محمد وآل محمد. محمد وآل محمد. तो दे अकबर, है आवाज तो दे अकबर। कड़ियल जवां की लाश पर कहता रहा रो कर पिदर, आवाज तो दे अकबर, है आवाज तो दे अकबर। गिरता हुआ उठता हुआ आ तो गया हूँ मैं मगर गुम हो गया नूरे नजर, है आवाज तो दे अकबर, है आवाज तो दे अकबर। तू नौजवान है अकबर, तू नौजवान है अकबर, और है ज़ईफ़ बाबा। तू नौजवान है अकबर, कैसे उठाऊं मैयत मुझको तो बता दे इतना। जाना है अब ख़याम तक, कैसे करूं मैं ये सफ़र। ख़म हो गई मेरी कमर, है आवाज तो दे अकबर, है आवाज तो दे अकबर। आई सदा जिधर से, आई सदा जिधर से, मैं उस तरफ बढ़ूँगा। आई सदा जिधर से, आवाज़ सुनते सुनते तुझ रन में ढूंढ ही लूँगा। तू है जिधर प्यारे मेरे, धीरे से ये कहते हुए बाबा इधर, बाबा इधर, है आवाज तो दे अकबर, है आवाज तो दे अकबर। बरछी से बस कलेजा, बरछी से बस कलेजा, तेरा नहीं छिदा है। बरछी से बस कलेजा, मकतल में फातिमा ने दिल अपना थाम लिया है। भाई हसन नाना नबी, बाबा अली दादी तेरी मौजूद है, सब भी इधर है। आवाज तो दे अकबर, है आवाज तो दे अकबर, है आवाज तो दे अकबर। सलावत। एक बार दुरूद पढ़ दीजिए मोहम्मद। क्या रहा खैमों में शके, एक उदासी रह गई। क्या रहा खैमों में शके, एक उदासी रह गई। क्या रहा खैमों में शके, एक उदासी रह गई। सिर्फ रोने को मोहम्मद की नवासी रह गई। सज गई कासिम के टुकड़ों से उधर कर वो बला। सज गई कासिम के टुकड़ों से उधर कर वो बला। माँ इधर बेटे की दुल्हन को सजाती रह गई। छीन था शिम्र चादर और ज़ैनब बार बार। छीन था शिम्र चादर और ज़ैनब बार बार। अपने चादर के मुहाफिज को बुलाती रह गई। खून दिल अब्बास का सब बह गया रल में मगर। खून दिल अब्बास का सब बह गया रल में मगर। दिल में बस एक बात ज़ैनब की रिदा की रह गई। ऐ मुसलमानों तुम्हारी गैरतें क्या हो गई। तुम तमाशाई थे ज़ैनब, मुँह छुपाती रह गई। ऐ मुसलमानों तुम्हारी गैरतें क्या हो गईं। तुम तमाशाई थे ज़ैनब, मुँह छुपाती रह गई। क्या रहा खैमों के शके, एक उदासी रह गई। दुरूद मोहम्मद आले मोहम्मद।
Surah Al-Fatiha. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم إلى قيام يوم الدين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي أما بعد فقد قال الله عز وجل في القرآن المجيد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وقولوا للناس حسنا صلوات على محمد وعلى محمد Respected ulama, dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Normally on Thursday evening we have Dua Kumayl and we have a very brief talk in English. But today we had a special request for a majlis because we heard very tragic news of a family in our community where one of our community members and somebody who was known for his love for Ahlul Bayt and also for his recitation in the honor and the love of Ahlul Bayt passed away in very tragic circumstances in an accident in Pakistan when he had gone to visit family. And it is our belief that nothing happens by coincidence or by accident. Although I called it an accident, that is just our conventional language that we use. Otherwise, everything takes place for a purpose, and everything takes place according to the wisdom of Allah. And we learn from our Imam Sayyid al-Shuhada, Imam Hussein ibn Ali alayhi salam. إِنَّهُ هَوَّنَ عَلَيَّ مَا نَزَلَ بِي أَنَّهُ بِعَيْنِ اللَّهِ. When tragedy befalls us sometimes, we have so many regrets, so much grief, so many thoughts that enter into our mind. But whether it be an accident, whether it be a loved one who becomes ill or dies suddenly far away from our presence or in circumstances that are very tragic, no matter what the circumstances of tragedy or of death may be, nothing can compare to the tragedy and the severity of the test that Ahlul Bayt, and in particular Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam, faced in Karbala. And we learn from our Imam what to say. هَوَّنَ عَلَيَّ مَا نَزَلَ بِي. It makes it easier for me to bear the test of the martyrdom of one companion after another, of the martyrdom of his own family and the descendants of our Prophet and Imam Ali and Fatima Zahra alayhimus salam, and sallallahu ala Muhammad, the coming captivity of the women and the children, widows and orphans and innocent members of the family of the Prophet, all of those things, Imam Hussein says, إِنَّهُ بِعَيْنِ اللَّهِ. Allah is the one observing. Allah is the one governing. Allah is the one decreeing. And if I know that Allah is my Lord, He is my Creator, It is his jurisdiction and not the government of Yazid, and not the authority of Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad, and not Umar ibn Sa'ad or Shimr who is deciding anything that takes place in this world. Hawwana alayya ma nazala bi. Then it becomes easier for me to bear it. So I will not give a long talk because the purpose is to remember Ahlul Bayt. The purpose is to derive lessons from their life, and both to inspire ourselves and strengthen our soul and our heart, and also to send a gift of thawab and reward to our marhumin. So a few words from the guidance of Ahlul Bayt. The Quran says in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 83 is part of the commandments that Allah had given to Bani Israel. One of those commandments was وَقُولُوا لِلنَّاسِ حُسْنًا. If you are believers in Allah, and Banu Israel, they were chosen by Allah, but that selection and that status was not so that they can say we are better than humanity. We have rights that nobody else has, that we are human beings and everyone else is just an object. When we are scared, that is a tragedy, and when others die, that is not a tragedy. This was not what Bani Israel were chosen for. The Quran describes that choice as a covenant and a responsibility, and one part of that covenant was to be humble. وَقُولُوا لِلنَّاسِ حُسْنًا. Speak goodness and kindness to all people. And that is explained in a hadith of our sixth Imam, Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam, in which our Imam says, مُؤْمِنِهِمْ وَمُخَالِفِهِمْ. This ayah is لِكُلِّ النَّاسِ, for all people, those who are mu'min and those who are unbelievers. The mu'min because they are your own family member. They are your own brother and your own sister. Now sometimes with our brother and our sister and our mother and our father and our children, we are a little bit unguarded, and sometimes we are more harsh. All of us have experienced this, that you have a fight in the family and then somebody calls who is not a member of the family, and all of a sudden we become much more gentle. When in reality, it is good to be gentle, to be kind, to not just express our anger or our frustration with our acquaintances and our distant friends. That is not the problem. But it is even more important to be gentle and to be kind and to not just express my anger or my frustration with those people who have the greatest right on my tongue and on my actions. Now, of course, if you live with somebody, then you will fight. And if you are close to somebody, then you will express your thought. But remember, they have the greatest right. So it is more important for you to be kind and more important for you to be gentle with them than with anybody else. That perspective should always be there. Sometimes it means that we don't fight at all. At other times, we may have a disagreement, but then we make up and we reconcile faster than we do with anybody else, because this is my own flesh and blood. So that standard applies to mu'mineen. Even if they are not my flesh and blood, even if they don't speak my language, their culture, their ethnicity, their background is different than my own. They might be from a different race. Sometimes if you go for ziyarah or for hajj or for umrah, you will meet somebody and you don't speak a word of their language and they don't speak a word of your language. But if you are mu'min then you have a relationship. And you have a closeness with that stranger that you might not have with a neighbor, even if that neighbor is related to you by culture and by language and by ethnicity, and even maybe by being a relative. This is the power of Iman, that it elevates and it brings close, even if there isn't anything explicit that we share with one another. لِلنَّاسِ كُلِّهِمْ مُؤْمِنِهِمْ وَمُخَالِفِهِمْ. But this قُولُوا لِلنَّاسِ حُسْنًا, it applies to the mu'min as well as to the mukhalif. Mukhalif could mean somebody who is an enemy of Ahlul Bayt. It could mean that it is referring to somebody who is not a Muslim, who in their ignorance or in their jealousy or in their animosity, they may not think well of you, but you should still act with kindness towards them. These days, especially now on social media and in the environment that we live in, we have a race to the bottom in the way that people talk. I'm sure you've seen the clips, the videos, the debates. Sometimes people do it out of ignorance. Sometimes people do it because it is exciting. Sometimes people do it because they want to get views and they want to get clicks and they want to get likes. And if you are a little bit provocative and a little bit extreme, then you're going to become much more popular than if you give a message of moderation and a message of maturity. It's not exciting. So you'll see that rather than use the word Shia, some people will say they are Rafidis. Now that is a term that is used to put somebody down and to insult somebody, instead of just using a word, a follower of Ahlul Bayt, or a Shi'i, or another word of respect, or at least a neutral word. And then you also have sometimes people, they won't say Ahlus Sunnah. The way that our ulama and our maraji' speak and they teach us to speak is to say our brothers who are Sunni. But if you don't want to say brother, at least use a neutral term and a respectful term. That's not the ideal, but it is the minimum. Instead, what do you find? Bakri, Umari, Nasibi. Now, we can't always criticize other people and say, why are you referring to me in an insulting manner? Have I taken a stand against somebody who refers to another person in an insulting manner, or do I smile and say, well, this is maybe just a little bit excessive, but it's fun, it's enjoyable? Or do I sit passively? So, if we want to be followers of Ahlul Bayt, then we should apply the standard that comes to us from the Quran, that comes to us from the character of our Prophet Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, and his teaching and his followers. Only then can I say to somebody else, why do you not speak to me with respect and with courtesy? Now, some people say that, well, they do it, they started it, they do it worse. So let me give you an example which is from our fifth Imam, Imam Muhammad Al-Baqir alayhi salam. There were two brothers, Alqama and Abu Bakr al-Hadrami. His name was Abdullah ibn Muhammad. A very loyal and a very close companion of our fifth and our sixth Imams. In particular, Abu Bakr al-Hadrami, who was more famous and has many ahadith and narrations in our most authentic books, in different areas of Islam, in fiqh, in practice, in belief. And he was a very strict and a very strong lover of Ahlul Bayt. He has a narration, he says, that one of my relatives was sick and they were on their deathbed. And so I went to that person, and this was, in that time, very few people knew the path of Ahlul Bayt. In the time of our Imams, this was still Umayyad era society and government. So people knew, yes, the family of the Prophet is there in Medina. Yes, they have a hadith. There is somebody named Muhammad al-Baqir. There is somebody named Ja'far al-Sadiq. But the Imams were not able to publicly convey their teachings. And so even those people who may have heard the name of Ahlul Bayt, they didn't know these details. So Abu Bakr al-Hadrami, he saw that this relative of mine now is on his deathbed. He said, I went to that person and I say, repeat after me. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. And the person repeated. And then Abu Bakr al-Hadrami, he said, this was the time. I said, say, and then he said, I named the Imams one after another until he came to the Imam of his time. I don't know whether this hadith was in the time of Imam Baqir or Imam Sadiq, but either 5 Imams or 6 Imams, whatever the number of Imams were until that time, he said, I told that person, testify that they are your Imams and the successors of the Prophet. And that person, he testified. And then later on, the narration continues that one of the womenfolk of their household, she said that I saw that deceased person, and in a dream, he was in a very good state in the hereafter, as if he was still alive. And she didn't know she was dreaming. She said, didn't you die? He said, yes. And I was almost about to go into hellfire. But then Allah saved me through certain words that were taught to me by Abu Bakr al-Hadrami. And that was this shahada, which Allah has gifted to all of us, to know who are Ahlul Bayt and who are our leaders and our Imams and our role models and our guides in this world and in the hereafter. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So this was the kind of person that Abu Bakr al-Hadrami was. It takes courage and it takes devotion to just be and wait. That when can I find an opportunity to guide a person, to bring them to the love and the path of Ahlul Bayt. So Alqamah, his brother, says that I went to the 5th Imam, Imam Muhammad Baqir. Salawat ala Muhammad. And I said that my brother, he is ready to fight with people over the love of Imam Ali. And so Imam Baqir said that, I imagine that if you see somebody cursing Imam Ali, sab, I imagine that if you were able, you would want to chop off that person's nose. And Abu Bakr al-Hadrami says, yes, that's what I would do. Now imagine, these days, no Muslim, and some of you can give examples, is even willing to quote those ahadith in which there is an indirect criticism of Imam Ali, because the consensus of Muslims, and not only the Shia and the lovers of Ahlul Bayt, holds respect for Ahlul Bayt, that even if there is a hadith, and even if that hadith is found in a source that many people consider authentic, but that is not what people consider to be the authentic seerah and practice and conduct of Imam Ali. And if somebody who respects those sources which have weak ahadith quotes them, then the consensus of the Muslim world comes and says, this is not right. And there are examples, we don't have the time to go through them. But imagine a time when Muslims will pray and fast, and it is not that they are quoting in Al-Bukhari, there is this hadith, in Muslim, there is this hadith. But يَسُبُّ عَلِيَّ بْنَ أَبِي طَالِبٍ. They are openly insulting and cursing and disparaging Imam Ali. So the response of Abu Bakr al-Hadrami was not unexpected or unreasonable. This person who is the brother of the Prophet, the successor of the Prophet, the beloved of the Prophet, the self of the Prophet, and has such a great right over the shoulders of every Muslim man and woman. People are insulting him openly. That is insulting the Prophet. That is insulting Islam. That is insulting the Quran, which is full of praise of Imam Ali. That is insulting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who revealed the Quran and sent the Prophet and appointed Imam Ali as the Imam of the Muslims after the Prophet. But then what did our fifth Imam, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir alayhi salatu wassalam, say? He said that, "Oh, Abu Bakr al-Hadrami, Imam understands the sincerity. He understands the sentiment. He understands where that anger is coming from. It is a righteous anger." But then the Imam says, this is not how you bring people to love Ahlul Bayt. He says, sometimes in the masjid of Medina, I hear people cursing Imam Ali. Remember, this is the time of Imam Muhammad Baqir. Those people that sometimes today are called Nasibis, they are not Nasibis. They may not know all of the virtues of Ahlul Bayt. They may have ignorance, they may have a lack of knowledge or familiarity, but insofar as they know, they love the name of Imam Ali and Fatima Zahra and Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein, and they will be offended and they will object if somebody insults Ahlul Bayt, just like you and I will object and be offended if somebody insults Ahlul Bayt. But the time of Imam Muhammad Baqir, this was the time of Banu Umayyah and the sunnah that was established by Muawiyah and by Yazid, and that was then furthered by Abdul Malik ibn Marwan and by Hajjaj ibn Yusuf. And so in the masjid of the Prophet, people would curse Ahlul Bayt and Imam Ali. And Imam Muhammad Baqir, this was during the time of our fifth Imam, when Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, he ended this evil practice started by Muawiyah. It was in the imamat of our fifth Imam. So during the first 6 years of the imamat of Imam Muhammad Baqir, from the death of Imam Zainul Abidin in about 94, 95 Hijrah, up until the year 99 Hijrah, this was the public practice. Our fifth Imam says, I sometimes hear somebody cursing Imam Ali. He was the grandfather of Imam Baqir's own father, Imam Zainul Abidin. He was the Imam, he was the ancestor of the fifth Imam. Imam Baqir says, I hide behind the pillars of Masjidun Nabi. So he doesn't see me and he doesn't know that I heard him saying that evil act. And then Imam Baqir says that when he is finished, I come and I shake his hand. And I greet him just so that they lose at least one barrier between them and guidance. So if you want to know how was Tashayyu' built after Karbala, after Imam Hussein, was anybody Shia? In the time of Imam Zainul Abidin, was anybody Shia? If you want to know how our Imams built this religion so that within a generation, within 100 years, people from Kufa and Khurasan would come and they would say that we have to come to Ahlul Bayt. In spite of the oppression of the government, in spite of the fear of the authorities, in spite of the false ahadith and narrations that came from the enemies of Ahlul Bayt, in their positions of authority and in their schools and even from their pulpit and their mimbar, then this was the character of our imams. That somebody is saying words of insult, and the imam says, I hide behind a pillar so they don't see me. Because if they see, then it might become the obligation of the imam to do amr bil ma'ruf or nahi anil munkar, and if there was a possibility, then the imam would do it. But given the circumstances, when you know that is not going to be effective, the imam says, I make that person think I didn't hear, then I come and I shake their hand and I greet them and I talk to them so the door is opened. Sometimes those people after a time would come and become lovers of Ahlul Bayt. And sometimes their children would become lovers of Ahlul Bayt. Is that what we do? Is that what our majalis are like? Is that what our gatherings are? Our popular speakers, are they the ones who follow the seerah of Ahlul Bayt? This is not just for me to speak on this mimbar. You are already here. You are an audience that is already willing to listen to this. So it's like I'm speaking to myself. Inshallah, you already know these messages before I said them. But then each of us have a responsibility, because some of you and me will attend those gatherings where these practices are not held. And we shed tears, and we say we are going for love of Ahlul Bayt. If I shed a tear, and then I am supporting somebody who is going against the sayings of Ahlul Bayt, going against the seerah of Ahlul Bayt, going against the practice of Ahlul Bayt, then can I say I am going to get my reward from Ahlul Bayt? That I am going to get my reward through the intercession of Ahlul Bayt? That I am going to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give me the company of Ahlul Bayt? Will I not feel shame from Imam Ali and Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein and Imam Zainul Abidin and Imam Muhammad Baqir, that it was their grandfather who was being insulted? And my anger and your anger is not more than what was in the heart of Imam Baqir or Imam Zainul Abidin. But I say, mujhse bardasht nahi hota. I can't control myself, I'm going to speak. So then, at least be honest with myself and say, then I am not on the seerah of Imam Baqir. Because this seerah of speaking whatever comes in our tongue, this was the seerah of some people, but it wasn't the seerah of Ahlul Bayt. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us among those قُولُوا لِلنَّاسِ حُسْنًا, for all people. Mu'min, because we are brothers to each other and one family. And mukhalif, because in the end, if they are mukhalif, then I feel sorry for them. That I know my Creator is Allah, and so many people, they don't believe in God, or they worship a false God. Then there are people who believe in God, but I know that His final messenger is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa alihi, and they don't know. And then there are people who believe in Muhammad, but they don't know that his successor is Imam Ali. And there are people who know Imam Ali, but they don't know who are the 11 Imams from his progeny. Maybe they follow other Imams. They came so close, and yet they have not come to the full path. I don't feel that these are my enemies. I don't refer to them with insults. I don't arrange my majalis, whether it be in Muharram or any other time, in such a way that they would not be welcome or they would not feel welcome. And I'm speaking specifically, we have tabarra and la'an. Then sometimes people say, Jo na bheje us pe lanat. Have you heard that? Do people say that? All right. Is that, and I don't need an answer, but think in your conscience. If somebody doesn't send la'an, then maybe they are ignorant. If you think that is what Imam Ali wants, then attend those gatherings. And when somebody gives that slogan, say, Bishwa! But if you have aql, and if you have hub, and if you know what Imam Ali did and what Imam Ali taught, then you should not say anything against Imam Ali. I'm not telling you what Imam Ali said. It's your decision. You do your study, your research. If Imam Ali said, say Beshumar, he's your Imam, you understand what your responsibility is to further his mission. But then, if that is not the practice, then I should wonder, should I say anything? And one step further, should I even be sitting there? Because did Imam Ali send me here or did somebody else? This is something for you to think about. And I don't need an answer, but I will answer to Allah and all of us will answer to Allah. But may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, I'm saying this message to convey a message. But in reality, I don't want anybody to say that now we're going to create a fight. Now, in the end, if you are a lover of Ahlul Bayt and I am a lover of Ahlul Bayt, we are one fraternity. I will make a mistake, and then you should not condemn me, but you should kindly come and remind me that, Maulana, maybe this message you gave, it was a little bit too harsh. Then I will learn and I will grow, and I should correct my mistake. You shouldn't draw a red line and say this person is condemned. And other people will make a mistake, and then I don't say I'm going to draw a red line and I am going to condemn, but we should also have a message of guidance. Not to alienate, but to guide. And this is what we learn from Ahlul Bayt themselves. Many of you will have heard the narration that as Shimr came forward on the day of Ashura to commit the greatest crime in humanity, a tragedy that our Prophet shed tears for more than half a century before it took place. And that even Prophet Nuh and Prophet Ibrahim and all of the prophets of Allah wept for. 50 years before Karbala, if our Prophet was weeping. Hundreds and thousands of years before Karbala, if Anbiya of Allah were weeping. Then imagine on the day of Ashura, how severe is the tragedy. Shimr is coming forward. From a distance, Lady Zainab alayhi salam is observing. And in her grief, she calls out to Umar ibn Sa'ad that, "Oh, the son of Sa'ad, are you going to watch while the son of Fatima Zahra is martyred?" And so desperate was the call of Sayyida Zainab that even Umar ibn Sa'ad was not able to look at that scene where Imam Hussein is in sujood. And Shimr takes a sword out of its sheath and he raises it above his head. The angels in heaven are weeping. And even the hands of the soldiers of Yazid are trembling. And it is said that Shimr, he couldn't build the strength in his own body to do that evil act which he had intended. And so he brought himself close. He said, maybe I will hear Imam Hussein cursing, and that will give me resolve, and then I will commit that accursed act. And he comes close, and Imam Hussein had done a grave jihad. He was thirsty for 3 days. He had brought 72 noble bodies of martyrs from the battlefield to his own tent. He had carried the body of his own son Ali Akbar, and even heavier than the body of Ali Akbar, he had brought the body of Ali Asr. And he had brought the 2 arms of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas and a water skin that had been pierced with an arrow, and an alam, a standard that had more wounds than the body of a warrior. Imam Hussein, he was in prostration, but it was as if he had gone to the battlefield and fought 72 times, wounded, bleeding, injured, thirsty. Imam Hussein now was in his final moments. And Shimr said that he thought that Imam Hussein would curse his enemies. But he heard in that faint voice of the Imam, Bismillah wa billah wa ala millati Rasulillah. Oh Allah, I return to you. Forgive these people, for they are ignorant. Guide the Muslims, for it is in the love of Ahlul Bayt that their salvation rests. And even still, Shimr, he did not change his evil intention. I don't know what the eyes of Sayyida Zainab witnessed on the day of Ashura. Did she see as the sword was raised up and as it came down? Or did the sands of Karbala and the wind create a barrier so that her eyes would be shielded from the sight of what came next? The head of Imam Hussein was separated from his body, and before long it was raised on a spear. Imam Zainul Abidin, he came out of the tent, and Zainab said that, oh my nephew, what has happened? Where is now the body? And what is the status of my beloved brother? And Imam Zainul Abidin, as he looked towards the battlefield, he said, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah, Assalamu alayka ya Abata. Oh my father, your son sends you his salam, even as he sees your head raised on a spear. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Once again, I ask all of you to remember Marhum Sayyid Mansur Shirazi, son of Zulfiqar Shirazi. He was a lover of Ahlul Bayt. He would recite poetry with devotion and with love of Ahlul Bayt. And it is our belief that if you send your salam to Ahlul Bayt, Ashhadu annakum tarudduna salami, I testify that you return our greetings. Tashhaduna maqami, you witness where we are and where we stand. So somebody who spent his life and raised his children and lived his life with love of Ahlul Bayt, and it is through the barakah of that love that we are all gathered here. And even though he passed away thousands of miles away, we are here because of his love for Ahlul Bayt. That is our connection. That we remember the tragedy of Ahlul Bayt. Oh Allah, grant him, Marhum Sayyid Mansoor Shirazi, the company of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. Grant him the company of the martyrs of Karbala. Forgive his sins and shortcomings. Elevate his rank. Oh Allah, for his family, they had unspeakable tragedy that befell their family, for his daughters, for his loved ones. Grant them consolation and peace, just as you provided consolation and peace to Ahlul Bayt in their days of tragedy. For Marhum Sayyid Mansoor Shirazi, for the marhumeen of your own families, for the shuhada and the martyrs of Islam in Palestine and in Lebanon and in Parachanar, in Pakistan, and in every area that the lovers of Ahlul Bayt are being oppressed, and they are being targeted for their love of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. Oh Allah, elevate their rank, and for their thawab, let us all recite Surah Al-Fatiha. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahmanir Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين صلوات على محمد وآل محمد.